Well, here we are. Christmas is a-coming, and the geese are getting fat. To which I say, how's that my business? I'm not going to fat shame a goose. Yes, indeed, Christmas is upon us, and while there are lots of amazing options in the supermarkets now, sometimes, you want to do something special, don't you? You want to cook something special for Christmas? Well, we've got some of the best chefs around who are going to help you put together the best vegan Christmas you've ever had. Probably. Zacchary Bird is a writer and vegan recipe developer based in Melbourne, Australia, who specialises in plant-based meat. His first book, Vegan Junk Food, Amen, was published with Smith Street Books in 2020, and his second is The Vegan Butcher. Alexis Gauthier is a returning guest. He's the owner of French fine dining restaurant Gauthier Soho and was awarded a Michelin star in 2011. He became a vegan in 2016 and changed Gauthier Soho to a completely vegan menu in 2021. He's also been on MasterChef loads of times. It's amazing. He's a judge. It's very cool. Anjula Devi is also returning to the podcast. She's a chef, an author, and Indian food consultant for Manchester United. And she's launched her own brand, Route 207, which is inspired by the bus route she used to take to the spice market, which is a really great name. I love that.
I love it too.
So, traditionally, Christmas, the holly and the ivy was considered a perfectly acceptable vegan meal. People are very, very excited to pry some answers from you. So I'm going to jump straight in. Nadia, who is Nadia Franito, I think, from our Italian episode. No, maybe it's different Nadia. Oh, God, I don't know. Anyway, she wants to know, how do you make the perfect creamy eggnog but without coconut? I mean, eggnog. It's just not a word you can say.
That's not French. That's for sure.
No, it's not. It's not French, is it?
No. It's not something. I'm afraid I'll be an expert.
It's an aberration. Well, I remember how you felt about was it creme brulee? You were like, why bother? No, souffle.
No, yeah, souffle. Yes, creme brulee.
You took a very dim view of souffles. Anjula, have you ever done one?
I'm the same. Eggnog doesn't feature in Indian food. I have to be honest. I've never made it.
Okay. I've never drunk it. We're doing well. Zacchary, save us.
We're going to be 3 for 3 here because nice. I mean, I'm Australian. I've got no basis on what eggnog's meant to be like. We've got summery Christmases, so it's not in my wheelhouse either. It's question as a unit, haven't we?
All right, so the general consensus is that nobody knows or cares about eggnog. I would say as a sort of quick and easy, cheap and cheerful hit, you could do worse than to buy one of the commercially available vanilla milks and then spice that up in an eggnoggy way. Something like nutmeg and whatever else goes into eggnog. And would you even dare just the tiniest pinch of Kalanamak just to give it a properly eggy hit? I don't know.
I think it's more the texture that's going to be missing here.
Yeah, I would.
Usually the eggnog, it's got this very egg white-ish kind of texture that is really a bad surprise on a Christmas day. It's like, oh gosh.
Yeah, it's like Santa hates you.
Yeah, exactly.
You've been a very naughty boy, Alexis. Here's your eggnog. Yeah, I mean, could you even like slightly thicken it with some corn flour, or even like custard powder? Does that sound insane? I don't know.
Yes, that sounds like.
Oh god, custard powder would work a treat.
Do you? Do you think?
It would be too heavy. It's not a drink anymore. It's
but like a tiny amount, just to kind of give it a slightly gloopy. I don't know.
Yeah, perhaps.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Nadia, good luck, and I hope that Father Christmas treats you right. Chris says, I've struggled for years with my Yorkshire puddings, and I would love a tip on how to get them to rise. Well, we recently had a bit of a to-do online. with a company who's making vegan Yorkshire puddings, but they can only make 18 at a time until they've commercialized it. And we will get them on to answer that question. But have you guys had a go at a Yorkshire pudding?
Yeah, thanks again. All those French specialty,
eggnog
and now Yorkshire pudding.
Uh-huh.
I'm the kind of person who comes with the expertise. I can understand how important and vital Yorkshire pudding must be and must look, on Christmas Day. But to be honest, I didn't even know that. Even though I've been living in UK for more than 25 years, you had to have Yorkshire pudding on Christmas Day. I mean, don't you have Christmas pudding every other Sunday already?
Yeah,
so,
that's true.
It's perhaps it's the best way to get a. But I will imagine that to get it nice and always, straight up, very hot oven, very well ventilated, and kind of a not too thick mixture in order to get it as crisps outside as possible. But that will be my trick if someone asked me.
This is me geeking out then. If we're talking about French batter-based cooking, have you successfully veganized a clafoutis or a cannelé?
Oh, that's a very good question. Actually, the originally the clafoutis is a very difficult pudding to make in order to remove the elasticity of the eggs, and instead having something nice and soft. So I will say yes, and actually the vegan version of a clafoutis is much nicer than an eggy normal, or not normal, but original clafoutis. Sure. So replace plenty of almond powder and we'll make a clafoutis much nicer than with egg based.
Would it still work as a frisbee?
No, actually, no. It won't work as a frisbee. Absolutely.
I do miss cannelé, which it's a specialty from Bordeaux. Yeah, that's and it's these little sort of molded kind of flanny cake things. They're very pretty. They're sort of glossy, brown on the outside.
That's so difficult to make non-vegan, and even more difficult as veganized. This kind of elastic-ish texture. It looks outside a little bit dense, but inside it's nice and moist and wet, and it's like a thick crepe.
Yeah, I think you may have had better ones than I've had.
I don't know, perhaps.
Anjula, have you done a Yorkshire pudding?
In my style, Jake, I'm going to tell you that I have failed at making vegan Yorkshire puddings. Even if we were to use chickpea water, which they suggest, it is. I think it's for me. It's been impossible to get that texture and that rise in a Yorkshire pudding. What we do instead, is that we create something with chickpea flour. Generally, obviously, Yorkshire puddings are baked in a very, very hot oven. But we can get something very, very similar using chickpea flour or gram flour, or even some lentils, where you soak them overnight and then you pound them or blend them in a pestle mortar to get a really nice, same consistency batter as you would with normal Yorkshire pudding batter. Right. And then I'm afraid it is actually deep fried. However, you do get a very similar texture to a Yorkshire pudding. So that's the way we've got round it.
That's genius. Zacchary.
I know it is, isn't it? And honestly, it actually looks like a Yorkshire pudding. And if you didn't tell anyone that it was deep fried, most people probably wouldn't know.
I mean, deep frying is the way you cook a Yorkshire pudding, if you're pretending you're not basically deep frying it in an oven, you're kidding yourself. Right? Zacchary, are Yorkshire puddings a thing in Australia?
They sure are not. I am not the demographic for this first series of questions.
I'm so sorry. I'll have a word with the booker.
Thank you.
Not to worry. You know what, Chris? I would suggest have a look at Plantside Cafe. It's all one word, Plantside Cafe, who make the most amazing looking Yorkshire puddings. They're on Instagram if you do the Instagram thing. Check that out. There you go. You don't need us. Just get out there. Enjoy yourself. Someone called A Vegan Feast says, best vegan gravy recipe? Seems simple, but it's such an important part of the dinner. Zacchary, do you do gravy?
Yes, I've got this one last.
Yes, come on. Punching the air.
Huzzah!
Yeah.
No, I do love a good gravy. It does really elevate like a Christmas feast because everyone expects to have a really hearty gravy on the side. And I guess the issue with a vegan gravy is normal gravy is often made with the drippings of a roast turkey or a roast animal, and so that's where a lot of the umami comes from. So the actual gravy itself, starting with the roux and making a gravy, isn't that hard. But I like to use beef-style stock as my liquid, and then I love to use, and this might be controversial, a little bit of Vegemite, to add the umami, and then things like balsamic vinegar and like a sweet soy sauce all come together to pack an umami punch into my gravy.
Nice. Your gravy sounds great. I travel halfway around the world for your gravy.
Yeah, well, you should.
I will. Anjula, do you do a gravy?
Yes, we do actually. We use miso because I love, again, that umami flavour that you get from miso. And then we just use lots and lots of vegetable stock as well that we make ourselves. So that actually, and then when you reduce that towards the end, you add some fried onions. That makes it even tastier.
Basically, you're saying frying.
Guys,
just fry your Christmas.
We can do fried food.
Of course we can. Of course we can.
Fried food is the answer. No, I'm only joking. No,
I've staunchly maintained that throughout some 40 episodes of this.
It makes a great gravy. If you add the fried onions towards the end in a vegan gravy, it really does taste quite nice.
Amazing. Alexis, do you do a gravy?
Yeah, we do plenty of gravy because that's really the basis of French vegan cooking. Just like animal based gravy is at the base of. We use a lot of mushroom, especially the dry mushrooms, and we use shiitake mushrooms, and actually we use the onions and carrots at the beginning, just like we will do for a normal. I need to stop saying that. For an old fashioned gravy, and then obviously there is a lot of dry mushrooms that we cook overnight, and we let it reduce, and we try not to actually add any agents that might add some salt, because it's cooking so slowly and it's actually evaporating.
Yes.
And then we use this basis with our carrot, onions, and plenty of leeks and garlic, nice. and then we reduce it, and then it becomes bronze, dark brown, and it's just delicious.
And what's the SPF factor on that? Is it a 50? Can I go out in full sunlight with some of that on?
Yeah, this one is full block, I'm afraid. you can dip yourself in and go under the sun.
Full block gravy. That's a gravy I can get behind. I still haven't tried. A few episodes ago, we had Richard Macon on. I want to try his mum's gravy tip, which is just to make standard. I think he said that red Bisto is vegan, and that with a dollop of peanut butter stirred into it apparently is incredible. Who am I to argue?
That's a good idea.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Do trust Richard.
Yeah. I trust his mum. I totally trust his mum. There you go. Lots of gravy ideas for you. Jasmine says, and this is a age-old question, what's a good turkey replacement as a Christmas centerpiece? Zachary, let's start with you.
Oh, this is my forte. This is my cookbook that came out in the UK a few days ago and comes out in Australia tomorrow, has 4 different roast bird replacements in it.
So, I mean, I've seen you holding a tray with it looks like something you just wrung the neck of.
Well, no, I lovingly handcrafted that neck, actually, out of plant-based meat. Thank you.
That's beautiful. That's amazing. It really does look astonishing.
I mean, there's so many different ways, and so just to break this, so I've got one with yuba, which is bean curd skinned, and we wrap that up to get really dense layers, which makes a really meaty product in the end. And then there's obviously things like seitan, which you can make out of vital wheat gluten, or you can wash the flour yourself, which is just harder to make into a big dramatic roast. And I love using soybeans in all of their different forms. So yuba, I love using okara to make like a mince to shape big turkeys, and tofu. A good old tofu turkey doesn't go too wrong in my household either.
No, that's a lot of blocks of tofu. I kind of love that. Mm-hmm. I mean, do you get big commercial? Because I've seen, you can get like proper wedges of tofu.
Well, I make my own when I can. Otherwise, it's pretty cost effective to grab tofu from the supermarket around here. So I just go through a lot of the beautiful stuff.
Yeah, amazing. Okay, well, that's a nice kind of proper sort of like for like swap out there. Alexis, what do you go for?
Well, I can tell you what I did last year, because that was quite successful, and I was pretty happy with what I did. Yeah. I first did like a huge stuffing, and it's a mixture of button mushroom, champignon de Paris, white wine, and lentils, with a lot of herbs and some noisette mixed into it, and that's its first cooked. And then after, I use this as the centerpiece, and I wrap it in something called pâte à huile, which is an olive oil based dough that we do in south of France, and it's as it says, only made out of olive oil, water, and a little bit of salt and flour, and that creates a very crisp crust once it's cooked. And so there is a beautiful combination of this very light pastry but super crunchy, and soft inside, with the big pieces of mushroom that I've left in the middle, with the nuts, and the lentil is absolutely delicious.
The bell says it all. That was a correct answer.
So someone texting me right next to me.
It was like, correct. Tick.
Yeah, exactly. Good answer.
Yeah, well done. Anjula, what about you?
Oh, I sent you a picture of what I've created. Did you see it?
What? When?
I sent it to you in your email. So basically what we've done is we've just created, we've used a sort of method like as if you were making a pate. So we've used a loaf tin. But what we've done is we've layered it with lots and lots of different vegetables. So like aubergines, courgettes, mushrooms, green beans. Then we've used kind of red currants as well to top it off with,
and then you fry it, and then you fry it,
then it's just sat for a couple of days so all the flavors can soak in. But prior to that, we've charred all the vegetables in some really nice herbs and spices, and sort of like Christmas spices, and then pressed it all down in this meatloaf. And then what you get is this huge piece of beautiful vegetables with all kinds of flavors running through it and textures, and that's what goes on the centerpiece and on the table for anyone that attends our house that happens to be vegan. And I love it, actually. I prefer it over the turkey.
Sounds good. I mean, nobody even likes turkey. This is the senseless thing about this huge avian massacres for stuff that nobody likes. I've never understood it. Anyway, Jasmine, there you go. 3 superb ideas for you. Don't forget, you can always email your question to podcast@veganlifemag.com. We'll always forward it to the best person to answer it, unless it's about Yorkshire pudding, in which case we'll ask a Frenchman.
Yeah, good idea.
Yeah, and a guy in Australia. Anyway, Nikki says, it's just me and my husband this year for Christmas, and we want to do something a bit different. Do you have something I can cook that is non-traditional on Christmas dinner?
That's a very, very strange question. You can cook ratatouille. That's not a traditional.
I got to say, the year. This is before I was vegan, but the year my grandmother died. And I mean, it was sort of sad, but on another level, she was kind of a horrible old witch. So, we were kind of okay. I know it's awful to say. It's true. But we had for Christmas, we had egg and chips. And you know what? It was amazing. like homemade chips. Like it's the best thing.
Oh, that sounds about right.
Honestly, it was a feast. It was brilliant. So, Anjula, let's start with. I mean, we've already had 3 fairly unconventional ideas, but do you have any other suggestions?
Do you know what? I think she should just do kind of something like with sweet potatoes and fennel.
Ooh.
And just make it kind of like a gratin.
That sounds
with
great.
A vegan sauce, and you can just put that all together quite quickly, and it tastes amazing. I love sweet potato with fennel. It's delicious.
That's an interesting. How would you do the sweet potato? Would you roast it?
Yeah,
Fry it. She says, fry it.
Look, I'm actually not a fan of frying, but it's just a way to get around Yorkshire pudding. Even our pakoras are baked these days.
Wow.
So, I mean, all I would do, just do it as you would do a gratin. You know, put it in a tray and add saute all your vegetables. I like to roast the sweet potatoes first, and then I just chop them and put them into the gratin tin. Yeah. And then I layer them with the vegan sauce, and I use that yeast. That's yeast stuff is lovely. Has anyone used that?
Nutritional yeast flakes?
Yeah, it's delicious.
Yeah,
yes.
it's delicious, isn't it?
Have you only just discovered this, Anjula?
Yeah,
exactly,
I'm amazed
yes.
at the flavour you get from that. So we create a creamy sauce with that, and then we top it with some breadcrumbs that we've roasted with garlic.
Anjula, how long have you been vegan?
On and off the last 5 years.
And you've just discovered nutritional yeast flakes?
No, I discovered it last year.
There's this amazing stuff called hummus. You gotta try it.
Do you know what? What put me off? Because it kept saying vegan yeast, and I thought, well, what do I need vegan yeast for?
Right.
So the name is a bit off-putting, because I thought, well, it's obviously a raising agent. Of course, it's not, isn't it? Is it? So last year, obviously the first lockdown, I thought, right, let's get creative, because this is an opportunity to. I'm not very busy, so let's get creative, and I discovered
the worst loaf of bread you've ever made.
Vegan yeast. Anyway, everyone knows about it now. So, I mean, actually saying that, not many people still don't know about this product.
Well, if they don't, go out and mainline some of that stuff. Zachary, do you do anything unconventional?
Well, just on that nutritional yeast point, which I'm just as shocked as the rest of us to hear about someone discovering it. Yeah. But keep your eye out, if you're just discovering the yeast, there is Torulla yeast, which is nutritional yeast like kind of like loser cousin that no one acknowledges, but it's awesome, and it's in the way that savory yeast flakes are great for cheesy sort of flavors. Torulla yeast is great for umami and like meaty flavors, so definitely try and grab a pack of that, guys.
I wonder if we can get that here. I've never heard of that one.
I'm looking it up now.
It's a little bit
Torulla, Torulla.
Correct.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, it's a rising star. So I'll definitely have a look out for it.
Well, definitely.
But yeah, on the Christmas, I mean, I'm all of my Christmases have been sunny and summery. So I love doing like a puff pastry pizza on Christmas with like olive tapenade all over it, and asparagus and vegan feta, and things like that are gorgeous on Christmas Day. So perhaps depending on if it's not too cold where you are, that could be a lovely thing to put on the menu.
That's a great idea.
Oh, vegan feta in the sweet potato fennel would work well. That's a great idea. Thank you very much.
Yeah, do it. Those are great combos. A little bit of beetroot. Oh, I'm coming to dinner.
Oh my God! Do you know what? I feel like I need to go out and get vegan feta right now to try it. That's going to be on my mind now.
That's the collaborative atmosphere we want.
Perfect.
I'm going to send it to you when I've made it. I'll do a short video and post it to you.
Alexis.
Where I come from in south of France, on the day after Christmas, we do a traditional soup which is called aigo bulido, and it's Provençal for boiled garlic. So hold on a second. That's amazing, because if you add funnel bulbs and you boil your garlic wrapped in funnel bulbs in this vegetable broth, you get this like balls stuffed with delicious soft garlic, and you reduce the broth and you serve the broth over the bulb filled with garlic, and you break some bread over it. And
that sounds delicious.
Chopped parsley, and this is really a traditional Christmas, poor people kind of soup, but it's absolutely amazing.
Seriously,
and it is like
sounds too good to be true.
Yeah.
It's beautiful, and you can't believe it's actually a celebratory dish, but that's a superb alternative to a bird as a centerpiece.
Yeah,
I've just written down everything you said so I can put it on the Christmas table.
It's a great idea. And then
you send me those notes. I didn't write it down, but I'm
written it down. That sounds amazing.
It's okay. If this is all going well, this has been recorded somewhere.
Aigo Bolido is the best invention around garlic ever made.
Yeah,
and it's exciting stuff for everybody in south of France.
It's a great idea.
That was just to die for. Sounds amazing.
And then after dinner, you can go for a walk and breathe over the ducks.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah. This is a night that absolutely.
There you go, Nikki. Some awesome ideas for you. Will says, how do the panel cook their roast potatoes? Well, we know that Anjula fries them. I'm kidding.
You can't fry a roast potato. Listen, my kids think my roast potatoes are the best in the world, okay?
Okay, go on then.
Seriously, we use rapeseed oil, and that's all, with lots of herbs towards the end. Obviously, we boil the potatoes till they're almost cracking. I think that's the best way to make roast potatoes. So you've got those kind of, they're just falling apart, but they're still holding their shape. And then the oil needs to be really hot in the roasting tin, and in they go. You fire them off with a bit of salt and black pepper, and then halfway through you add your herbs. And I think that makes perfect roast potatoes. Around about just over an hour in the oven. Don't dish my roast potatoes; they're amazing.
I'm not dissing. No one's dissing. Alexis.
Well, again, the roast potatoes. This is something that is not too French. We've got mashed potatoes, but when I'm asked, obviously, I think choosing the right potatoes is more important than having the right recipes. Because you can have the best recipe in the world. If you pick the wrong potatoes in the supermarket or wherever you get your potatoes from, it's sure to be a disaster.
That is such a good point.
So usually I use Maris Piper, which I peel and I leave them overnight in water in the fridge. So they start getting a little bit fluffy on the outside. And then I obviously boil them, and then they become even more fluffy on the outside. It's almost like they are becoming mushy. And that, I think, it's the key, because we use the sunflower oil and very hot in the tray, and we put the potatoes in it. And the minute they touch the oil, they create this little crumbly crust. It's not crumbling because it's still holding, but it's and then you leave them in the oven, and then you shake the tray, and then you take them out, and then outside they are like, I don't know, they are like crumbly potatoes, but inside is mushy. Yeah. And so it's all down to the right kind of potatoes rather than really the recipe or the skill of the chef, I'm afraid.
Yeah, absolutely. Very valid point. The right potato is crucial.
Yeah, it's key. And for that's something the British are expert of, because in France we will have only two kind of potatoes: the mountain potatoes, which is the big golden white potatoes, which is fluffy, or the smaller potatoes that you French fries with. Where here in UK you've got you go to supermarkets and you've got all kinds of beautiful names of potatoes and smiley farmers. So I think that's very telling of the country, and for their love of potatoes.
Yeah, so fluffy it's like eating a roast Furby. Can I ask you two quickly before we come on to Zacchary? Do you talk about like parboiling or boiling your potatoes? Do you then let them cool before you start to roast them?
Well, that's a very good question. This is where it's the skill of the chef is key. Is because you need to keep them hot, but you don't want them to be wet.
Right.
So you need to manage to drain your potatoes, and as they are burning hot, and you are going to burn your fingers, you put them on a little towel, and they are still very hot, and then you have to remove them from the towel with your hands, and it's burning you. But that's the price. That's the price for
That's how you earn your potato.
Exactly.
Actually, do you know what? We steam dry ours. We just put some absorbent paper over the top, and it literally really does work.
Yeah.
It takes away all the moisture, and then you're just left with these and they're still really piping hot. Literally, take them out of the pan, put the kitchen paper over the top of them, really nice and tight, and then when you remove the kitchen paper, the paper is all quite wet, so you know that the moisture has almost been removed from those potatoes.
But that's the other problem of the roast potatoes. If you remove the most of the wetness around, it's never going to be fluffy and crumbly as it should be. So you need to find the right amount. You need to leave a little bit of humidity around and wetness. This water lingering on the top of the potatoes when you put them in the oven with the oil, because this is going to create the explosion that's going to make the skin of the potatoes becoming even more fluffy.
Yeah, that's true.
Don't
steam dry your potatoes.
Yeah, exactly. Don't over dry your potatoes.
Okay. Well, how wet do you like your potatoes, Zacchary? I mean, there's nothing you want more on a hot summer's day than a massive plate of roast potatoes.
Well, I'm afraid to speak. I don't feel like I've gotten it to the refined science as the others have at this point of the recipe. But I think they do all look really quite similar in terms of, you parboil or you boil them till they're almost falling apart. And then I like to have my oil in the oven really hot before I add the potatoes and get a bit of a sizzle as they enter, and give them a little squash about 3/4 of the way through, just to get a bit more surface area. And that gorgeous crumbliness that we seem to all be so obsessed with.
Nice. There you go.
Although I'm trying to master, and I've had so many bloody failures, but I really want to nail duck fat or a vegan duck fat for roast potatoes, just because I feel like I've not seen has anyone seen anyone do anything they can give a tip for?
No, not at all.
Then I'll tackle it. Deal.
You're on it. Okay, well, come back as soon as you've done it. Okay, Erin says, this year it's my turn to cook Christmas dinner, and I've never done it before, so the pressure's on. Plus, I'm cooking a vegan dinner for my omnivore family. Oh, God, Erin, our hearts go with you. I really wanted to go well. I would love to know from the experts on timings and what I can prep the night before. I don't want to be in a fluster on the day and for my family to be eating at 10 p.m. I've been there. Yes, what can you prepare the night before, Zacchary?
Oh, I'm all about, especially on Christmas, I cannot be arsed spending the day in the kitchen when it's what I do every other day of the year. So everything you've got your salads and you've got all your sides that you can keep in the fridge. But I love doing like a beet Wellington or even the roasts I mentioned, because they sit in the fridge until you want to chuck them in the oven. And then really all you have to do is sort of man the barbecue and make your drinks on the day.
The barbecue.
And you don't really have to do too much.
Yeah. Yeah, we've got this problem in UK too. Barbecue on the day, whole salad in the fridge, and this is so beautiful to be down under for Christmas. We don't live that here.
Yeah, so it's quite a unique experience to our part of the world, I'm sure. But it's just gorgeous just to have the grill on, and you've got some beers on the go, and you don't have to worry about all the timings. And it's just about how much more crisp and charred do I want this particular veggie sausage.
Stop with the weather out there. It's freezing.
Yeah, but I think that's a very fair point, because are you rewriting a summary Christmas where you're gonna have raspberries and strawberries and peaches, beautiful picked from the trees on the 24th of December.
We don't do Christmas pudding. We do pavlova, and it's covered in every fresh fruit you can think of. So there's a good reason for it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Excellent.
Amazing.
Got to get to Australia.
Yeah.
Come on over.
Yeah.
Anjula, what do you prepare overnight?
I'm like prepare 3 days in advance. So all the like we do an red onion marmalade. and kind of to go with Christmas dinner, as well as the actual traditional Christmas chutneys and things. But that's all prepared 3 or 4 days well in advance, because obviously it tastes much better, and it's soaked in some kind of liquor. I'm quite not sure what this year, probably Madeira. And then we kind of use apricots in there as well, and mandarins too. And they just clementines, whatever I can find, and I create like 3 or 4 different sauces and chutneys. They're all done at least 3 or 4 days in advance, and then all the veg are prepped the day before. So I tray them all up, and everything's ready to go in the oven the next day.
Nice. And Alexis?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I'm always on duty on Christmas Day because I'm the one, that is in the industry. So that's always awful.
That's really unfair, isn't it? Surely.
I know. So Alexis is coming, so you don't have to worry about anything. So the oven is my best friend on Christmas Day, and everything is ready the day before, ready to go into the oven. So it's really a matter of making sure that I'm on the top of everything with the oven, and I'm the one who say, okay, you put this in the oven, okay, you take it out, you put this in the oven, you take it out. Because I don't want to do anything else. That's the only thing I can be an expert of on the day, because there is too much to drink, and then I don't want to be blamed, So that's what I do. I think everybody does that, to be honest. Prepare most of the things the day before. Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt you, Alex. What we do is we give everyone a really hearty breakfast, and then then people are just kind of snacking on the odd whatever nuts and things we have, and then people have to wait till around 6 p.m. for Christmas dinner.
That's not a bad idea.
I'm glad you do the same. That's what my house does. You have 2 meals on Christmas. We can't be asked doing 3.
Yeah. You do an amazing breakfast.
Yeah.
And then you fill everyone up with a great breakfast, some Bucks Fizz or champagne and orange, and then they're usually asleep in the afternoon. And they wake up.
Yes, just that's a top tip. It's just make them so drunk they don't care. No, that's a terrible. I'm not, there you go, Erin. Good luck. Our hearts go with you. You can do this. You've totally got this, and don't worry about that uncle. I don't know. I'm speculating, but everyone's got that uncle. What's the rabbit food? Right. Sarah says, I don't like Christmas pudding. Well, Sarah, good for you for just putting it out there. We respect that. I love Christmas pudding. What are good vegan festive puddings out there that I can make? Anjula?
Do you know, I haven't quite conquered vegan profiteroles. But I do like to make profiteroles topped with fresh cream, and then add some alcohol to the cream as well, so they can further go to bed in the evening.
And then fry them,
So I think profiteroles are a good idea, and they can be made the night before as well.
That's a top tip. How do you do choux? Because that's been
you have to go to Alex for that. He would be the expert at that.
Well, I'm gonna put a little shout out to V Creation on Instagram, who has just been posting pictures of choux pastry that she's created. So check that out if you want to have a go at profiterole. Zacchary, what about you? You've talked about your pavlova.
Oh God, yeah. You guys have an awareness of pavlova, right?
Oh yes. I'm pavlova
it's
aware.
Gorgeous. Yeah, 100%. And I guess my biggest problem with vegan pavlovas is that, people have mastered the aquafaba meringue, but they just do these little hard, crusty meringues, and they don't really know that a pavlova has that gorgeous, soft, kind of marshmallowy filling. So I think that's
nice.
Yeah, like you get the crispy meringue, the chewy meringue, and then you get like the pillowiness in the middle, and that's really important for me. As well as a cream that doesn't taste only like coconut, which is also super important.
Yeah.
And then as many fresh fruits as you can gather in your local area on top. That's my number one Christmas
I'm afraid
dessert.
in the UK it's just conkers.
Well, that's why I said as many as you can gather. Might be a sparse pavlova over there.
Yeah, don't eat conkers. Top tip. Okay, Alexis, what about you?
Well, I mean, at the restaurant, we do our traditional a Christmas log in obviously a vegan way, and it's chocolate praline, and sometimes a little bit of coffee or vanilla inside, and that's really easy because you can find recipe for that online. But I think for me that's one of the best.
Yeah,
Nice.
You can do as a replacement. The other thing we do in south of France, because this is where every year I spend Christmas usually, is because we've got 13 puddings at the end of the meal.
What?
We do tend to have a lot of originally vegan, pudding. One of the best is the it's deep fried actually. Layers.
There you go.
There we go.
Yeah. It's deep fried, layered of just flour, water, and icing sugar, and it's very thinly put. And then we cut it with scissors, and then we deep fry it, and then after we coat it with sugar, and we put that on top of each other, so that makes like a feuilleté, but put together. And then you can put fruits, and you can put obviously cream or anything you want to, and it's delicious.
That
It's really
sounds
delicious.
like a really interesting, slightly lower stakes version of a pavlova. That's
Yeah.
Well, you don't need to compete.
slightly less jeopardy involved.
We call them oreillettes.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know why it's called oreillette because
Is that like
it doesn't
ears?
look like
Yeah.
yeah, exactly, but it doesn't look like
My
so-
ones would look like ears.
And my grandmother used to put a lot of rose water in it,
Oh, okay.
and
Nice.
that was really special.
That sounds almost a bit
special
like
costing.
kind of baklava.
No, because it's not as
Not
it's
that
not
thin.
as sweet. There is no
Okay.
no. It's not. It's very dry once you deep fry it, and
Yeah.
that's why you
Yeah.
coat it in sugar, and
Sure.
then you layer with fruits, and it's beautiful. Oreillette, you can look up.
I'm going to look it up.
Please.
Brilliant.
Nice.
Right, we're getting towards the end. Jamie says, could I have a Brussels sprout recipe, please? I'd love some ways to jazz up my favourite side dish. I do love a Brussels sprout. Zacchary, I bet you've got some wild things you do out there with... No, do you even have Brussels sprouts?
Oh, how dare! We love a Brussels sprout for sure.
Awesome.
Well, look, I'm all about the Brussels, and I am particularly fond of. I sort of cut them half open, but leave them attached, and put this like maple syrup and hot sauce mixture inside of them, and then close them back up. And then I'll make a vegan bacon out of something like shiitake mushroom or yuba, and wrap it all around and make these like maple Brussels with coated in bacon made out of veggies, which is absolutely to die for.
Wow. That's elaborate. I love that.
Yeah.
Alexis, what about you?
Well, I mean, this Brussels sprout is almost against the law in France, so it's difficult for me. But what we do sometimes at the restaurant for Christmas is we deep fry the petals, and we sprinkle some of the vegetables. To add a bit of bitterness, because there is nothing more than bitterness in the Brussels sprouts, unless you mix them with sugar. But no, I'm not a big fan, so I won't say anything kind about it.
See,
So
I saw
sorry,
a thing.
sorry.
I saw a thing that it basically explained the history of Brussels sprouts, and it said that 50 years ago, most Brussels sprouts tasted bitter, but now with sort of strains and breeding and all the rest of it, they actually taste very different to the way they used to taste. They're kind of much sweeter now, and
They still taste bitter to me.
Okay.
I mean, I know they are loved. They are loved here, but they are. I mean, they have always felt like a punishment to me rather than something that.
Wow.
So it's very difficult for me to be creative with something that was meant to punish me in the past.
Oh, you've definitely been a bad boy this Christmas.
Fan.
You're a fan.
Hooray!
What do you do, Anjula?
Yeah. So guess what? Because obviously they belong to the brassica family, all those vegetables do have a bitter element to them.
Okay.
And my father, when I was young, he used to hate cooking cabbage and things because of this after bitter taste. And he came up, and I swear to you, you have to try this because it really works. You take something like butternut squash or sweet carrots or pumpkin if it's still around over Christmas. And you roast that pumpkin off, and then you puree the pumpkin and you add that to the Brussels sprouts while you're cooking them. And what that does, the sweetness of the butternut squash pumpkin or carrot removes most of the bitter taste from the Brussels sprouts, and you get the most amazing flavour. And then what we like to do, and this is a bit of a fuss, but try it and I promise you won't look back, is that we hollow out an onion, and then we just heat up some charcoal, flavourless charcoal, add that, put the onion into the pan that you're cooking in the centre, add the charcoal, pour over some vegan butter, and smoke the Brussels sprouts, and then you get something that's totally amazing. I promise you, Alex, cook them that way and you will become a fan of Brussels sprouts.
Oh my God.
That sounds good, yes.
The onion lathe.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's amazing.
Seriously worth it.
This has been a fantastic episode. Thank you so much. Dan has one final question saying, I'm not a fan of meat replacements. I guess he's not going to be finding your cookbook in his stocking this year, Zacchary.
I'll see myself out of the podcast.
No, please don't go. He says, I'd love to make my vegetables the centerpiece. Could I have some ideas, please? We've already had some nice ideas from you, Anjula. Do you have any other suggestions?
Me?
Yes.
Back to me. Yeah, I mean, I love, like, Christmas is mostly about alcohol as well as everything else. And you know what? I take parsnips and I soak them in a little bit of alcohol overnight, and then add some maple syrup, some.
What kind of alcohol?
Chili. Sorry?
What kind of alcohol?
It's whatever I can find in the kitchen, honestly. I've even tried it with rum. I've even tried it with rum.
That makes sense, though.
That would
the
work
sweetness.
well.
It totally works. And then you don't burn off the alcohol in the oven. And what you get is these caramelized parsnips, but really sticky and just delicious. And sometimes I'll roast some nigella and I'll add some nigella to it, because I think the parsnips and nigella love each other.
Amazing.
Oh, I love all
and
that.
I don't mean nigella as in the Nigella Lawson. I mean the sea. Although I think most people will probably like Nigella on the table.
Yeah.
Listen, I'm saying if Father Christmas is vegan, she's on the naughty list this year. It's no question. Great suggestion. Zachary, what about you?
Bringing vegetables into the centerpiece. Oh, I'm obsessed with beet tartare right now. It's gorgeous with, like onion and capers and pickles and mustard and all that. And what I've been doing is making a really rich garlic aioli and then smoking it with my cold smoker, and then folding that on top of the beet tartare and serving it with like toasted olive sourdough, some rocket. And it is, I used to hate beetroot, and I'm now saying my penance every day that I make myself beet tartare instead.
There was me
I'm just
saying
looking
it was
at
pointless.
flights for Australia here.
Yeah.
Come on over. I'll send you the recipe in the interim.
You have to send me the recipe for that. That sounds amazing.
Do you know, you've just reminded me that I put in a call for, and Julie, you were talking about, give them a big breakfast. And, I know for a lot of people, traditionally, they'd have like smoked salmon in the morning. I would say like shaved, almost finely shavings of salt-baked beetroot is really, really good as a substitute for that.
Yes.
Because it's got all the same kind of stuff going on. Anyway, Alexis.
As a real centerpiece, something that's going to impress people is one of the recipe my sous chef came up last year for our staff Christmas party. He peels some celeriac, and then he makes a hidden hole below, and in this hole he puts an apple. But in the apple, he has hidden a clementine, so this small tangerine, very sweet. And then he cooks it in the oven with brown sugar, balsamic vinegar, and red wine. And then you get this round, beautiful head or things. You put it on a tray in the middle of the table, and then you carve it. Yeah. And not only you've got the slight hardness of the celeriac, and then you got this fluffiness of the apple, and then the mushy acidic fruits, and that with the sauce, the red wine sauce with brown sugar and balsamic vinegar reduced, it's absolutely amazing.
Gasp.
Oh my God.
And this is really a nice surprise, because when you carve it, you say, oh my God, this is not just a celeriac. This is also an apple. Oh, but it's not just an apple. It's also a clementine.
All those flavor, those layers, amazing.
This sounds like the vegan turducken, like the turkey inside of it. This is the vegan version of that. That's mighty impressive.
Yeah,
and it's super easy to do. Once the celeriac is cooked, everything else is cooked, and the reduction of brown sugar with balsamic vinegar and red wine is just festive. Yeah. It's just this is going to be something out of the ordinary.
Yes, definitely. Yes. Oh, nice.
Well, this has been a perfectly festive podcast. Thank you all so much for all of your ideas. Where can people find you and your stuff? Anjula, let's start with you.
Obviously, I'm on Instagram at Anjula Devi, but also we have a website, anjuladevi.com.
Perfect. Alexis?
Yes, you can find me on Instagram as well. I love posting beautiful pictures of the food and what I think about veganism and animal consciousness in general. Mm-hmm. But if you want to see me in real life, it's in Soho, Romilly Street, at the best vegan restaurant in the world.
Definitely coming.
I know.
That's Gauthier Soho, and I'm expecting everyone who listens to this podcast to one day come and visit me, because that will be wonderful.
That sounds nice. Brilliant. We will. We absolutely will. And Zacchary?
You can find me and Zacchary Bird on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and you can find my recipes on my website, which is zacharybird.com, or in my 2 cookbooks in bookstores.
And there we must leave it. Thanks so much to our 3 guests for this week. Next week, we're looking at Christmas leftovers in an episode that's going to be published on Christmas Eve. Slightly ahead of the curve there, but, that's the point, isn't it? In any case, I hope you get through the frenzy of the next week okay, unless you're listening in, July or whatever next year, in which case, how are we doing there? You can always email us. It's podcast@veganlifemag.com. Maybe you just ate something really nice you want to tell the world about. It doesn't always have to be a question. We've got some fun new stuff coming up in the new year on this podcast, so if you haven't subscribed, now would be a great time. And if you haven't told your vegan friend or even your non-vegan friend about it, now would be a great time to do that too. Veganlifemag.com is the website where you can buy the magazine, have a look at articles and all the rest of it, and you can just buy the magazine in a shop, or you can download the app. Come on. One of us has to. We're on Instagram. It's veganlife_podcast. And I think that's pretty much everything. Anyway, good luck. We'll see you next week. From me, Jake Yap. Bye-bye. This has been a Swanburst Media production.